This is Hey Mom, I have questions. And I'm Megan.
And I'm Hanna. Thanks for tuning in. Wow. Are we radio hosts?
We're a mess, is what we are.
Yeah. I was
But
trying to make us feel better about it. But yes, we are. Okay.
We are radio hosts.
I need to calm down.
Welcome to this again. Here we are.
And we're going to talk about periods today.
Oh my gosh. So exciting.
Yes. For some more,
Lots of
for
us
some
have
less.
them. Yeah, lots of us have them. Most of us don't love them.
Mm-hmm.
They exist.
They exist.
Except when you're pregnant, they don't exist.
Which is something I remember Megan was very excited about. Yeah. I look forward to that. That sounds nice.
Yeah. It's great.
What I didn't know, okay, this might be embarrassing, but I'm totally fine with that. I wasn't aware that there's still discharge during pregnancy. Like somehow I was thinking that there would not be anything coming out of me. Not blood, not discharge, no mucus, nada. Because I relate the mucus to my cycle, right? It's how I can tell where I'm at in my cycle if I'm ovulating, all those things. So I was like, I'm not ovulating, so I'm not going to have mucus. And then, I don't know if you were talking about something or if I heard it somewhere else, and I was like, wait, what? Yeah. There's still discharge happening? No!
Yeah. It's very different. And it's not like cyclical. It's not regular in the same way. But yeah. Yeah. Still discharge.
It's still a lot less,
there's
though,
glands
right?
in your vaginal canal as well, right? Like it's not all coming out the uterus.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And if you're sexually active, then that's just a whole other situation.
Obviously, yeah. But
you were going to skip right over that one?
No, that's just, I was talking about my own juices and not having
extraneous juices.
My body discharge someone else's. Here we are. Welcome.
Yeah. Fair. Yeah, so, but neither of us are pregnant at the moment, and therefore both of us have periods.
Yep.
I have mine currently, so that's a thrill.
Congratulations.
This is my third regular cycle since having a baby, which, so to be fair, pretty great. Not a lot of periods after being pregnant also. Some people get it back like really quickly. Mine didn't start. I think 6 months I had my first period, and then I didn't have another one until he was like a year or almost a year old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then...
Did that make you take a test? Or were you like, nah?
I think I did take a test at some point. But, there's not a lot of chances for things to go awry in that first year. It's not for us. So.
We briefly touched on that in the last episode.
Yeah, things are different.
Yeah.
But turns out my period is the same as it was before.
Oh, yay.
And I'm remembering all of the joys of that. Including, as I mentioned earlier today to Hanna, I've been just like blissfully drinking coffee every morning for the past year and a half. And that's not a thing that I can do when my cycle is regular, because the week before I get my period, drinking coffee just really does a number on my insides, which I totally forgot about until it started happening recently.
Yeah. Yeah, when you were talking about that, I noticed, I think I don't have that anymore, or at least not as much as I used to, because I used to also, while I'm on my period though, not before, I used to, while I'm on my period, have diarrhea. And I think I don't have that anymore. But also, a lot has changed with my period.
Yeah, talk about
So
your
that
period.
makes sense.
Tell us about your journey. #journey.
Well, the most exciting part is that I don't really have any side effects anymore. I don't have any cramps anymore. None of that. I used to really, really badly have cramps. Like when I was a teenager, when I started my period, I started taking the pill because I cramped so bad. And even pretty much every day. It was so bad that it was every day and not just on my period, which is why I got the pill, which today I wish I would have handled that differently, or my doctor would have handled that differently. But here we are.
Yeah. Doing the best we can with the information we have.
Exactly. This is how it went. So yeah, I was over, I don't know, a decade, maybe longer than that, very heavily taking birth control for that reason. Oftentimes even like not doing the break, but taking like 3 strips in a row in order to not have my period, in order to not have the cramps. And when I decided to go off the pill, I was really nervous about that, if it was going to come back. And it didn't.
When did you go off the pill?
I did it twice, which again, the way I did it was not very smart.
Would not recommend.
No, I'm sure my liver was mad at me. I don't think it was a great thing that I did. 13, 14, I went off, and then I didn't have my period for a year. Like it took a year until I got my period when I went off the pill, because again, I had been on it for over a decade.
Yeah.
So that did a number on my body, not surprising to anyone probably. And then I was in a long-term relationship, and I decided I wanted, because of that, go onto the pill again because I didn't want to deal with condoms. So I went on again, and then I did that only for, I don't know, a year, 6 months. I have no idea. And decided, no, I really don't want to do that to my body anymore. It just didn't feel good. So I went off again. And then have been off ever since. And yeah, cramps never came back. I do have them when I don't listen to my body. So this is also something that happened, I want to say, over the last year, that I have become more in tune with my cycle. I know more about like what goes on, and how I can, like, how my energy levels change, for example, or that I'm more creative in this phase versus the other phase, and that it's okay that my body craves for more food when I'm going towards my period, and that it's important and nice to rest when I'm right before and during my period. And when I do that, I have a very short period. Like, I had one recently where I literally only bled for 12 hours and then I was done.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yes.
That's so bizarre.
I know. So yeah, it's usually now 2 days.
Cool. Ugh, amazing.
If I do all the things, right? If I listen to my body, if I rest, and if I don't, I will bleed longer. I will, like, my body will show me signs. I will cramp. I will not have a great time. But if I honor it. I've also switched my period products. I don't know, a few years ago, switched from tampons to a cup, a Diva cup.
Ugh,
and
I love a cup.
Same.
I
Really
love a
love
cup.
that, especially for traveling. I was like, oh my God, this is such a big change. Liberation for my life. So amazing.
The only time it's not ideal, you mentioned traveling, is if it's been in for a long time and you're in a public restroom.
Exactly. Yes.
You can, obviously, in a pinch, empty it and then put it back in without rinsing it off or anything.
Yeah.
So, like, totally doable, but messier in a public bathroom is the only, but you don't have to change it very often. So usually you can avoid changing it in a public bathroom. Anyway, sorry. I just thought of that because you said traveling. And I was like, ooh, airport bathroom.
Yeah, and that's exactly the reason why, for me, for traveling, it's so great, because I can go 12 hours with it in. Like, I put it in the morning and I empty it before I go to bed, and then it also holds the whole night. The yeah. So I do only touch it when I'm at home or a hotel or whatever. I don't need to do it in a public space. Yeah. Sanitary. It was different with tampons there. I had a few changes throughout the day, and I had to do it like in the bathroom at work or wherever. Yeah, so that's why that was great. And then...
Yeah, perfect if you're a forgetful person, because it's okay if you forget it.
Yes, also, oh my God, yes, I was also that person.
So forgetful.
So much. Like, I would go to the bathroom and be like, oh, wait, what, oh, okay, yep, we're falling out. I forgot. Great.
Ouch.
Now I have to go back to my desk, get the tampon, and go to the bathroom again. Great job, Hannah. Yeah, and then this year, I finally tried out period underwear. They had been on my radar for a while. I was hesitant to try them because I hated pads when I used them when I was very young and started my period and was still afraid of tampons. Yeah. Like, for the first year of my period, I used pads and I hated them. Like, the sitting in it, and like, especially at night when it like runs into your butt. I don't.
That was really descriptive. I loved it.
Sorry. I hated pads. I didn't need to do that description. Sorry, everyone loving pads. I don't like them. So that's why I was a little bit hesitant about period underwear, because I was like, is it going to be like that? But then I talked to some people that use them, and they assured me that it's different. And I also thought, oh, it would probably be nice for postpartum. Like, instead of using the pads, maybe using period underwear, and it'd be nice if I could try it out before. So I gave it a shot. Totally love it. Also did another like level on my connection to my body, because I can feel it when it's coming out, like, instead of the cup that just catches it. Yeah. I feel when my uterus is releasing. One day I'm gonna try out free bleeding. I'm not there yet. I could, because I work from home, so I totally have the circumstances to do it, but I just haven't had the impulse yet. But one day, I'm sure I'll be that person.
I feel like all of your life is moving toward being that person one day.
Definitely. I am that hippie.
We love you.
Thanks.
Before, during, and after the hippiness.
Thanks. I appreciate that. So yeah, that was also another step in this journey of being more connected with my cycle and my uterus, and has also in that been helping me to rest more. Yeah. So all the things. How's
it helped you rest more? I'd love to hear more about that.
Again, because I feel it when it's happening. So I'm like reminded.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I think it's that I'm just more connected to it.
Yeah. It's more on your mind that it's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just a lot more mindful of myself and of my body and what's happening.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah, that's one of the things that I love about the cup is you don't have to remember that you're on your period.
yeah.
But good point that it might be worth remembering sometimes.
Yeah, and I used to think that way, and I think that's how society trains us to. Like, there's not a...
Yeah, there's so much advertising around, like...
Right? Like, you can do all the things.
Right, not thinking about the fact that you're on your period. And all these period products are so great because you don't have to think about the fact that you're on your period.
Yeah, and I never considered asking, okay, wait, but why shouldn't I?
Right.
Why should I ignore the fact that it's happening? Why? Yeah, so there's a whole big can that I don't know if we want to go into that.
My mind just got blown a little bit, just a tiny bit. Small amount of mind blowing, I guess.
Yeah, so that switch happened within me, and that's how all of this, like, there's this whole ripple effect that happened, and that's like the result today, which is not the end result, obviously, but that is why, because I started asking all those questions for me and like looking at it from a different angle, that now I'm so much more comfortable with the whole situation. Like, even just the fact that I talk about it so much and so openly, I wouldn't have done that. I don't know, a decade ago, maybe.
In conversation with Hanna, you will find out where she is in her cycle. It's so great.
Yeah.
It's the best. I love it.
Yeah, and even like if you, my counterpart, don't like to hear about it or am embarrassed by it, I'm even at the point that I'm like, well, that's your problem.
Amazing.
And used to be the one that like embarrassingly goes to her work calling. I was like, do you have a tampon? I have to whisper because it's so embarrassing that you're on your period, and like, oh my God, is it showing yet? And that's just, yeah. So many things I want to say, and
It's a process.
yeah. I wish but we're getting there. It's becoming more of a conversation in our society, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. At least in the parts of society that I'm engaging with, that definitely is the case.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I rambled for a half an hour.
I loved it.
Did you ask a question to start that? Did I answer that question?
Yeah, I said, tell us about your period journey, and then you did.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's exactly what you were doing.
When I started replying to your question, I was like, oh, okay, wow, I'm really starting at the beginning. I didn't think that would happen, but here we are. So yes, I totally did.
Yeah.
Also, something that I just learned 3 years ago or something, that I didn't pay attention to it before, so I had never noticed that the flow is heavier when you're sexually active, and it's lighter when you're not.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Thank you. My sister-in-law said it to me. We were in Brazil, and we were talking about the cup. Somehow they had found out that I was using it. I think my husband had told them. I don't know. And they were interested, so I showed it to them, and we talked about it. And then we started talking about flow, and I was like, just casually, like, this was not the topic of conversation. I just said, oh yeah, usually I can leave it in for this amount of time, but this time my flow is really heavy for some reason. I don't know.
Well.
And then my sister-in-law looked at me and was like, uh-huh. And I was like, what? And she was like, well, you're here. And the last cycle you were in Germany and he was here. So, and I was still not getting it. And she was like, your flow is heavier when you're having sex. I was like, really?
That's
because again, before I used
revelations.
tampons and I didn't notice.
Right, because you have
And
to
now
change
with
them
the
every
cup,
4 hours anyway.
Yeah. Now with the cup, I was noticing.
Right. Yeah, that is one of my favorite things about the cup, is you can see how much came out.
Yeah.
Like you can see how full it is when you're emptying it.
Yeah, and the color and like you can tell
and the consistency and
you can tell where you're at and like how long it's gonna take still. And also something that I really like.
I just like seeing it.
Me too, yeah. Again, yes, we are this podcast. Welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, well, we should put a disclaimer. Hey, this one's gonna be
let's not
full of period things. It's gonna be called a period thing, so
exactly.
It'll be clear.
Wait, what was that? Oh, this is also something I really like about the cup. When I did the switch from tampons to cup, when you know you're gonna start your period, it's like you don't want to put in a tampon dry. It's
so
really uncomfortable. I can totally do that with a cup. I used to, right now I'm using the panties, but the underwear. Ooh, but I used to always do that with the cup. Like, oh, I know it's going to be today or tomorrow. And I used to put it in again to not get surprised and ruin another pair of underwear. Because, I don't like pads. So even as a backup, I never liked to use them. And a cup,
I do have some washable pads.
Oh,
that are like panty liner size.
Cool.
And I enjoy those. They do move around a lot.
Oh.
In the underwear that I have. So if I'm moving around a bunch, it's not good. But if I'm like going to work or at home for the day, it's not so bad.
Right.
And usually with the cup, I don't need it anyway. So.
Right.
Anyway. Yeah.
I'm really glad that you weren't aware of that too yet, because when
I'd never heard of it.
Here I was 30 years old and someone told me that, and in that moment I was like, oh, how did I not know that? So
I mean, yeah, that's not a thing they tell you in 4th grade when they're teaching you about periods.
Exactly. Which just brings us back to, we generally talk too little about period and internally the female reproduction system.
Yeah.
In school and such.
Yep.
Okay, skipping over that. Tell us about your period journey, especially, as much as you want, but especially you said it was the same after and that was disappointing?
Yeah, I've had really consistent and very regular periods in my life, which I'm very grateful for. I usually have some cramping on the first day, although this time I didn't have cramping on the first day.
Yay!
Yeah, I was like achy and sore the week, like a few days before. Also pretty normal. Usually I'll be like really sore in a really specific place. Like my right leg will be very sore. I'll be like, what did I do? And then 2 days later I'll get my period. It's amazing. So, and now I'm more like, I must be getting my period because I'm randomly sore and I didn't do anything strenuous. So yeah, I am more just like rediscovering what it's like to have a regular cycle right now.
Right.
Like I said, I got one at 6 months and I was like, oh, I guess I'm getting my periods back. And then nothing. And I like re-downloaded my period app and I like got all my things ready. Like I think I sterilized my cup and I like got all my stuff in the right place. I don't know. I got it all out again. And then I had nothing for another 6 months. And then I had my period again. And I really did notice that it was affected by breastfeeding because around that 6-month point, I don't remember what changed, but something changed in my breastfeeding. Or I was like gone for a day or two, or like, I don't remember what exactly, but something happened around that point that made it make sense that I would get my period. And then around 12 months is when I stopped breastfeeding as much during the day. So I breastfeed in the morning and I breastfeed at night, and I didn't really breastfeed very much in the middle of the day. And that's been relatively consistent since then. So, and I've been consistently getting my cycle back since then. So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's been incredibly regular the past couple months. Like I before would have a cycle anywhere from 30 to 35 days, relatively long. And this last one was like 29, 30 days on the nose. So, yeah. I don't know, just like getting back into it. Like I said, the coffee thing was a thing that I remembered. It's so funny because, you know, I've had my period since I was 10 or 11. So it's been, and I wasn't on the pill. I've never been on the pill. And so it's just like this very familiar rhythm in my life.
Yeah.
And it was gone for a while, which was great because it was another thing I didn't have to think about. And there was plenty to think about when I was pregnant. So I didn't have to think about it, which was great. But now it's coming back and I'm like, oh yeah, this rhythm, this like thing that's consistent in my life. And it all feels very familiar and also very forgotten because it just totally flew out of my brain for the last year and a half.
Understandably, when you don't deal with someone for 1.5 years, it's just gone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It freaked me out the first time it happened because the first time I got my cycle back because your milk goes out or like you don't produce as much milk at the end of your cycle. And then once you start the cycle again, your supply goes back up. But the first time it happened, I was like, my milk's going away. Like, I'm not going to be able to feed my baby. I'm not going to, like, it was such a, and I was premenstrual. So I was also in a heightened emotional state.
So great.
So
Perfect
the combination was such a, like, I thought everything was falling apart.
Yeah.
It just felt like everything was falling apart. And because I just wasn't thinking about it, wasn't paying attention. No part of me was recognizing symptoms or like, like I wasn't on the lookout for anything.
Yeah.
So it literally just felt like everything was falling apart. Usually when I'm in a regular cycle, I know that I'm heading toward that point in my cycle. And if I feel like if I start catastrophizing things, I can be like, oh, okay, this is where I am today.
Yeah.
And maybe not everybody hates me. Like, maybe that's not the thing that's happening right now. Maybe instead I'm making some things up in my brain because I have a lot of feelings right now. Like, because that's usually where my brain goes, is that everybody hates me. It's a really fun time.
That sounds
the
great.
week before my cycle starts. Yeah. I don't think that happened this week. Yeah. The emotional part of premenstrual has not been as intense the last couple times. This, as I've been getting my cycle back, hasn't been as intense. And I wonder if that's because my brain is otherwise occupied, or I don't know.
Because you get in oxytocin from the breastfeeding.
I'm getting
still.
oxytocin from the breastfeeding. That's true. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's regulating some of that emotional hormonal time. I don't know. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I think so.
It does all feel very familiar, but there's certain things where I'm like, is that the same or is it different? So that's what's happening over here.
Cool.
It's nice to have a predictable cycle. Prefer not to have
Yeah.
the admin of like cleaning my cup and making sure I have appropriate things to prepare for it. Period admin. It's a time. I don't have quite as much of it as you have or have had in the past. I don't know. Are you still doing temperature tracking and all of that?
Currently, no, because with the fasting, the time that I was getting up, and my mouth is so yucky in the morning because it does even more detoxing now during the night than it usually does. I don't feel like putting a thermometer in my mouth. No, during the fast, I haven't been doing that. Okay. And I generally, sometimes I'm more on it, sometimes less. We don't really mind using condoms, and we're not trying right now, so it's not that important.
Getting the exact day down.
Yeah, and since I am exactly with the moon cycle, I can, like, if I want to know what day I'm at, I can just look up what day of the moon cycle it is, and then I know.
So handy.
Yeah. Because I menstruate a new moon, so day 1 of the moon cycle is also day 1 of my menstrual cycle, so
yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah, that's a whole other realm of this that I don't think we really got into very much.
Should I try to cover it in a minute? Because I think
know.
we're
Would you like to? It's up to you.
Yeah. So, like I said, I have become more in tune with my body and in touch with my cycle and all those things. Yeah. And part of that has been and has allowed me and my body to synchronize to the moon, which I think is somewhat of, to a certain extent, like our natural state, which is not saying when you're not, that's not natural. Yeah, I don't know how I can phrase this.
Where did you first hear about it? Or how
I
did
have
you
no idea.
Become
but like, let me
interested
put it this way. The moon, ebb and flow, is that ebb and flood? Is that what? No, it's tides. Yeah. Mm-hmm. High tide, low tide is influenced by the moon, right? So it only makes sense to me that the moon also has an influence on our body. I mean, probably everybody knows, like, those things that, like, you should cut your hair during this time, and I don't know, plant flowers during this, and like, you can do everything according to the moon. And that's also something that I have generally gotten more in touch with. So also with that, I became, aware of it, where my cycle is at in correlation to the moon. And with that, with the awareness of it, I also have somewhat gravitated my life towards that, like to so I think that helped to synchronize my cycle to the moon. And I used to be for a long time, I mixed them up. Hold on, so I'm actually going to look this up. I used to be on the red cycle, meaning I had my period on full moon, and then, I don't know, maybe half a year ago, would you say? Do you remember when I told you first? Yeah,
sometime in the spring, I would say.
I switched to the white moon, so having my period on new moon. And
that makes sense. Red moon and then white moon.
Yeah.
Because the moon is white or it's red. Okay. Never mind. She told me this earlier, but I didn't put that together. I just did.
Me neither, because I could never remember it. So
which one it was? Well, now we know.
And now we know. Thanks.
It's red with my blood.
Exactly. Yeah, and I recently found out that it is said that when you're on your period with the full moon, it means that you're in a phase of reflection.
Yeah, and like introspection and...
Yes.
Yeah.
And when you're on the other end, when you're on your period with the new moon, you are in a phase of your life of creation. Your energy flows from the inside to the outside. You're creating. And when I just read that 2 days ago, I was like, oh my God. Like it really struck me. I reflected on when this changed. Yeah. And that is so true. That was what had changed in my life, that I was coming out of a long phase of reflection and going inwards and taking outside energy in and using it. And switching, I wanted to use a prettier word there, but I couldn't think of it. Transitioning, thank you. That's the one. Transitioning to a phase of now using my energy from the inside to the outside and getting into a creation phase. And that's totally where I'm at. So that blew my mind. I was like, yeah, that's why it changed. Because when it changed, I also was surprised that it was so quickly. I think it was 2 cycles that it took to get from one to the next, which I thought was pretty fast.
Yeah.
And that explained why.
I guess it did. Yeah. Just lining up with where you were at.
Yeah.
That's really fascinating.
Yeah, I thought so. And that's generally, I just did a story about it 2 nights ago, I think. I was realizing, okay, hold on, start over. I said I have been paying more attention to the moon and living my life and my days according to what, according to the moon calendar, would be good to do or not do today, and what the energy says and all those things. And there was a phase where I was really good at looking at it in the morning and then trying to redirect my day in accordance to that. As much as I felt comfortable with, right? I wasn't bending over backwards to meet that just because it was written somewhere and I didn't feel it.
Yeah.
And now recently, I'm forgetting to look at it in the morning, and I get up and I have an impulse and feel something that I want to do, and then I spend my day doing that. Also ignoring my to-do list and be like, no, I have this energy for this now. I know it's said on my to-do list I should do this today, but maybe I'll be in the mood to do that tomorrow. I'll just focus on this right now because I now have the energy for this. And then in the evening, when I sit down and take the time to look at my phone, I look at the moon calendar and it'll say the word of the topic of the day, and I'll be like, oh my God, that is what I spend my day with today. Yeah. Following my impulse that I had when I got up this morning.
That's really satisfying.
That was so satisfying and mind-blowing, and just, it felt really good because I was like, oh my God, I'm really getting so much more in touch with myself and all that is.
Yeah. You're doing the thing that you set out to do.
Yeah.
And it's internalized.
Totally.
Physically.
Yeah.
And otherwise.
So that was awesome. Really cool. Yeah. That's my spiel.
Yay! I am really excited that I didn't spend this whole episode talking because I feel like I usually talk the whole time. I'm very excited that you shared with us so much about your hashtag journey, and I loved it.
Yeah, I'm glad too. We were just talking about this today before we recorded the first episode. I was apologizing to Megan that I wasn't pregnant yet because I feel like I have run out of things that I can contribute to this podcast because she's the only one with a kid. So I'm also glad that I could contribute this today. Thanks.
That's awesome. If you have moon cycle, period cycle questions, check out Hanna's Instagram or the Amanas podcast because they talk about the moon cycle and other intuitive body energy things.
Sure, yeah, I guess.
Do you not?
No, well, that made me feel insecure for a second because that's not like my or our focus. But I think you're right. We obviously, yes, we do talk about it in relation to other things.
We talk about integrating
we do.
The energy in the world with the energy in your body and life. And
yeah, no, you're right.
Basically we totally all what you just talked about.
Yeah, you're right. I'll take it. Thanks.
She doesn't talk about her period a whole bunch on there. But if you want to talk to her about her period, just text her. She's totally down.
Always here. Totally down for it.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. We will check you out again next week. I think this is where we say farewell.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Should I do the plug again? We should do this every episode. Thanks.
I'll do the plug. We are trying to get listeners, and one of the things that would help us is 5-star reviews on iTunes. So if you want to go over to your podcast app or iTunes and give us a 5-star review, that would be really incredible, and we would absolutely love that. So thank you in advance for helping us out, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Till next week. Bye.
Bye.